Hey, Peace World. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. Definitely wanted to jump back in on. I'm several days late now, as actually episode 5 airs tonight. You can watch it on demand right now on the Showtime app. But I had to come in and recap last week's episode of City on the Hill, starring Kevin Bacon and Aldis Hodge. Um, Again, I continue to kind of struggle with where I am with this show, um, and what they're trying to do with it. I'm supporting it because of the rivalry between that I am enjoying the rivalry between Bacon's Roar, FBI agent Roar, and assistant district attorney or whatever, DeCourcy Ward, played by Hodge. So I'm checking it out. I just kind of don't understand what the bigger goal of the show is, but it is what it is. So, like I said, the episode was called East of Eden. The synopsis of it was Jackie schemes his way into a new mission as Karen Shimizu tries to get rid of him. DeCourcy and Siobhan spar on opposing sides of a legal battle. Grace tries to help her son. Jenny surprises Benny with some rebellious fun. Kathy re-ups her supply. Just looking at the numbers of this show, just trying to gauge whether or not it's going to be around for season 3 or what the reception is of it. It's not doing so good on Rotten Tomatoes. The average tomato meter is 76%. The average audience score is 71%. It's doing a little better on imdb.com, where the show is up. I mean, the episodes are like trending around 8.5, 8.7 and whatnot. So a little better over there on IMDb. Just only 4 or 5 points to talk through on this episode. The major thing is that I don't understand what the hell is going on with Anton Campbell, the older brother and the leader of, I think their name is the Braxton Boys. Braxton Summit, I believe, is the project in the housing project in Roxbury. So Anton's been locked up for shooting Junior Senegal last week, an opposing crew that they've been dealing with this season. Ward went and visited Junior in the hospital. I think Junior did make a statement on who shot him, but DeCourcy isn't sure. That he mentioned something to his boss that, generally without any other eyewitnesses, the statement of a known criminal probably isn't going to stand up in court. So this kind of puts Ward and his wife Siobhan, it pits them against one another, because Siobhan, and I don't even know how this is possible, but his wife is the attorney for Campbell, and maybe that's only as a favor to mom Grace. That's all I can make out of that, but it just seems like this really wouldn't. And she uses uses her surname or her maiden name. She doesn't use DeCourcy's last name. So maybe they get away with a loophole with that. I don't know. But the crazy thing here in this episode, which it just seems kind of out of place, I don't understand the reasoning behind it, is Anton has really, after, kind of keeping everything under wraps and hiding everything from his mom to this point, as far as we know, all of a sudden he's like super gangster, and he really loses his cool that Ward is trying to lock him up, or trying to prosecute him for this shooting. And Ward is kind of looking for leverage to get Anton to either take a plea, or he goes and visits him in jail and threatens to start digging into his past. It seems like after the former leader of the Braxton boys was locked up and sent away. I guess there was some kind of power struggle to take on the leadership of the gang. He won. And I guess as a result of that, some bodies were dropped. And so DeCourcy threatens him that, if I can't get you on this shooting of Junior Senegal, and I can't pin the Raina Allen thing on you, the 11-year-old who was hit with a stray bullet back in like episode 1 or 2. He's like, I'm gonna go digging into the past, into the history, and I'm gonna find a way to put some of those bodies on you. So this like just sets Anton off. And maybe, now because his business is fully all in his mom's, now that she knows about it and is having problems, and is and the situation with both of her sons being locked up is threatening to take away her position as the leader of the organization, the housing organization. Maybe that's why Anton is so pissed off. So they have the hearing to determine whether or not Anton can get out of jail, to wait for the trial. And some back and forth between DeCourcy and his wife. DeCourcy's wife, Siobhan, ends up winning, and the judge releases Anton to his mother with bail of $25,000. So that means she only had to put up $2,500 to get Anton out of jail. But she doesn't want to ask Anton for the money. I didn't kind of understand why the younger brother didn't approach his mom with the money versus her going hand in hand to these banks to try to get the money. That seemed like a waste of time to me. And then again, with these brothers hustling and you don't have $2,500, that's what I was thinking before at the end of the show. Once Anton does get out, he tells her, I could have got you the money for this. You didn't have to go, begging for this money. We could have taken care of it. But of course, Grace doesn't want the money. She doesn't want any drug money. And this is taking its toll on her as she realizes, she probably turned a blind eye to what was happening right under her nose with her two sons, especially with Anton. She seems like there's still some hope for Kelvin. And they've kind of made Kelvin look like that. Like he's not fully gone into the streets just yet. But you saw Anton tell his mom, I'm good at what I do. I might not like what I do, but I'm great at it. So that tells you where he is. And it also, the fact that he went and tried to shoot Copeland. I mean, not Copeland. I think their name might be the Copeland boys. But since he went to go shoot Junior Senegal in broad daylight, that's kind of emblematic of where he is with it. So, like I said, Grace is kind of under fire, his mother, because with her sons can't be locked up or have cases against them, and her maintain her job. So once again, we have this single parent, this single mother, trying to control these two, growing, they're basically men at this point. And she's just out here trying to hold her family together. And she's been comfortable and confident, earlier in the show with pulling the strings and doing what she does. But, this with her home being affected and possibly affecting her employment and whatnot, it's just kind of taking its toll on her. And now she's just highly disappointed of what the reality is with her oldest son and her younger son. So since she can't get the money, of course, she goes and takes advantage of her, pulling all the strings for this housing agency or whatever. And she goes and writes herself a bogus check to get the $2,500 to get her son out. Once Anton is out, this part of the show, this was not a good episode. If you dig into the details, but we're talking about in 84, 85. And as soon as Anton drops his mom off to go get the money, he tells her, you don't have to accept the drug money, but you need to replace that money that you stole so that you don't have any problems from that. So that doesn't come back to nip you in the ass. He's like, I put a bet on just take it under the guise of it's money that I won with the bet on the Celtics. despite the fact he was locked up in jail for, the last several days. So anyway, as soon as he drops his mom off, they cut immediately to Siobhan and DeCourcy coming back from having dinner with the mayor, and Anton just finds them on the street at a stoplight and crashes the back of their car and then runs up on the vehicle and lets off a couple of shots into the vehicle to take out DeCourcy Ward, who's really pissed him off. This just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Maybe in the next episode or two, I guess maybe we get an idea of why things escalated so quickly, but it's just not very believable. And then he ends up injuring his own lawyer. The bullet doesn't hit DeCourcy; it hits Siobhan, who's pregnant, who's like 8 weeks pregnant or something. So she goes in, she gets rushed in to go into surgery. It looked like she was hit up in her shoulder blade or clavicle or somewhere up there. She goes into surgery. They come back and say that it's okay, that the baby is the pregnancy is still viable, and that's taken care of. Her and DeCourcy were already going back and forth about the stress of their lives affecting them being parents or them having a young child. So that's something they've been discussing. And of course, this completely changes all of that because, they weren't expecting that anything that they do in the courtroom or in the performance of their roles as attorneys would come visit them in their private lives, especially on this level of attempted murder. So that's pretty much the big storyline in the show. The biggest headline from this episode is that Anton actually tries to take out DeCourcy Ward. He's blaming he tells his mom, like, ignore what is going on and what I do in Braxton. What is it? Braxton Summit. Ignore what I'm doing over there with my crew and the drugs that we're selling. This is all messed up because of DeCourcy Ward. So that's all they really give us and why he's so determined to get rid of him. The other thing here, just a couple of more shorter or smaller bits. Kathy Ryan goes to Braxton Summit to approach Kelvin and approach them on their home territory to let them know that she's taking over the family business in place of Jimmy Ryan, who we know was killed 2 episodes ago, her brother-in-law. And of course, Kelvin is like, you look like police. You need a map. You lost. And she pulls out the money talking about she wants to re-up. And Kelvin is like, we don't do business with outsiders. She informs me, I'm Jimmy Ryan's sister-in-law. He's not in the mix anymore. I need to score because I need to take care of my operation. There's another kid that's there. He's been in the show a couple episodes, but he's alongside Kelvin when this approach happens, and she pulls a gun on him. He was like, we could just take your money. We could just take your bag and send you home with nothing. So she pulls the gun to show that, she's hard, she's real. And, this confirms that she's probably not a police officer. So that dude who was with Kelvin, he goes back and approaches Kathy later on at the end of the show and offers her a brick for some side money for him, I guess. So that happened. Other than that, they spend some more time with the Rohr family. This is kind of why the show is a little all over the place, and they really haven't given you a reason to really care too much about Jackie Rohr's family, Kevin Bacon. But his wife and his daughter, who is recovering from being on drugs last season. And then there's also Jackie's mother-in-law. Jenny and her have this bad relationship. And like I said, the Rohr family arc kind of really doesn't fit into what's into the rest of the show, but they keep spending a lot of screen time exploring what's going on with Jenny and trying to find her way in where she fits into things. The interesting thing with the family is, or in the marriage, is that her and Jackie, I believe they have sex this episode. They hadn't been intimate, unless it was early in the first season. But they get together, and Jackie also shows some leadership as the head of the household and kind of explaining what's going on with the daughter who doesn't know how to fit back into the world, dealing with her substance abuse issues and trying to stay focused with her recovery as a young, I don't know what she is, teenager or just out of high school, whatever, but how she's going to fit in being a young person while also trying to maintain her sobriety. So Jackie comes in and gives some speech, one of his many stories, one of his anecdotes, and tries to point out to her that I know this stuff is messy. Life is tough for you. You got a bad situation. It's the curse of our family, yada, yada, yada. But you are courageous, and we're resilient people. So you'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. So he kind of cleans up, gets his house in order to a degree this episode. And then lastly, the other thing that's going on is that they tried to that a U.S. attorney that I mentioned earlier, Shimizu, the Japanese lady. She's set things in motion for Jackie to be moved to the Lakeville, Massachusetts FBI office, which they make note of as being, a much slower scene, less crime and boring. And Jackie wants to stay in the middle of things so he can do all the dirt that he does and, dealing with all of the different vices that he has and whatnot. So he doesn't want to accept being put out to pasture basically and being stuck in Lakeville until he retires. But that's what's come down from Shimizu, and Jackie's boss comes in there to tell him that's what's happening. And of course, Jackie needs to find some kind of leverage to, I think he tells Shimizu, I'm not letting you, or he told his boss, he said, I'm not letting you clip my dick. And so the shooting, Anton Campbell shooting Siobhan Keys actually plays right into and brings us back to the major, the recurring theme in here is the showdown between Bacon and Hodge. So Jackie goes to the hospital and tells, and asks about Siobhan's status. Is she likely to have a full recovery and whatnot? And basically, I can make what happened to the Roach guy from season 1, who was the guy who was who turned his daughter on to drugs, who he made disappear. Like basically, we can do the same thing with Anton if that's what you want done. And of course, he doesn't want to go that route. He's trying to be not act out of his emotions with that decision, and he's wondering why Roar is offering to do this and wanting to get involved. And of course, Roar gives him one of his stories from some historical moment. And at first, DeCourcy tells him, leave it alone. We'll take care of it. I'll take care of it on my own, continuing to do what he does. And then, of course, Roar's not going to accept no for an answer. So he goes back and takes it to the assistant, to the U.S. attorney, Shimizu, and tells her, why they need to be involved in it. And of course, this could get him back in the good graces of everybody to keep his job or keep his post there, where he thinks he's the face of Boston, the FBI office in Boston, or the face of the FBI in the city of Boston. And she buys it for some reason. She's willing to see it through. And then I think the selling point is that Anton Campbell and his brother, they live on, and the family, they live on federal property. So one way or another, the FBI was going to be involved in the manhunt for Anton and bringing him to justice. So that's pretty much all of it. Like I said, a little bit of political uncorrectness, in the way things were back in the 80s or whatever. But it opens up with Roar's boss when he was telling him about the relocation or the transfer to Lakeville. He says something about, this Jap bitch has a spike in my balls, and that's why I got to do what I got to do to you, because I need this medal that I'm up for, that sets up for me to have a successful and lucrative job in the private sector once he leaves the FBI. So everybody's kind of turned on Jackie. And that's kind of where we are with it right now. Not a lot else is going on. Grace, again, is trying to save her skin, but it all comes down to what goes on with the first case against Anton, the shooting of Junior Senegal, the drugs, and his, what everything that they've gathered on him about what he has been doing, and now this new situation with him taking shots at at DeCourcy and shooting DeCourcy's wife. So that's where we are. You can see that at the end of the episode, it closes with Jackie paying a visit to to Grace in their apartment or home, and that's how the show goes off. You see in the previews for the next episode that Grace is gonna lie and say that her son was with her at the time that the shooting would have occurred. Obviously, DeCourcy Ward is the eyewitness of seeing the guy shoot him, or shoot into his vehicle and hit his wife. So we'll see how that goes down. That was East of Eden, episode 5. Check out episode 6 tonight. Let me know what you think about the show. Again, my name is Wood. It's Pay Me No Mind, Sports and Entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.